No one tells you this in church, but when God truly places his calling on your life, things don't always get easier many times. They become more dangerous. Many Christians believe that true anointing attracts comfort when, in reality, it almost always attracts conflict. If you've ever wondered, why does everything feel harder right when I decided to obey God? This is for you, my brothers and sisters. Why is this more serious than it seems? Because if you don't understand what's happening in the spiritual realm, you'll think God has abandoned you or that you're doing something wrong, when in reality, he is confirming you. Hell does not waste energy on the ordinary. It targets what God chooses. To know if you are under this process, you need to recognize the 5 signs that you are dangerously anointed. First, you face unexplainable spiritual warfare. You don't need to have done anything wrong to be attacked. Your simple obedience is already a threat to the enemy. Sudden confusion or emotional heaviness out of nowhere are not coincidences. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood. If you wake up feeling drained even though everything looks fine on the outside, it's not weakness. It's that your calling carries weight and the unseen world has already noticed it. Second, you go through the wilderness of isolation. When God anoints you, he often separates you. Friendships fade and you feel misunderstood. But hear this, isolation is God's classroom. Hosea 2:14 reveals this process. Therefore, behold, I will allure her, will bring her into the wilderness and speak comfort to her. Think about David or Joseph. Their isolation was not abandonment, it was preparation. God separates you from the noise to teach you to depend on him alone. Heaven isolates what it intends to elevate. Third, you suffer attacks on your mind and emotions. The enemy knows he cannot take your calling, so he goes after your peace. He tries to fill you with anxiety and overthinking so you doubt what God has already confirmed. Elijah experienced this right after calling down fire from heaven. He fled into the wilderness depressed. The battle for your mind is real, which is why 2 Corinthians 10:5 tells us to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. This is not weakness, it is spiritual warfare. But Philippians 4:7 promises that the peace of God will guard our hearts. The more your thoughts are attacked, the more dangerous your anointing has become. Fourth, you face delays and closed doors. You pray for opportunities that never open, and you wonder if you missed something. But many times, every no from God is protection in disguise. Proverbs 16:9 tells us, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. He will close doors you begged him to open because he knows exactly what is behind them. Remember what Revelation 3:8 says? He is the one who opens doors that no one can shut and shuts doors that no one can open. God slows you down to strengthen you, because a promotion too early can destroy what he wants to sustain in the future. Fifth, you have an unbreakable purpose in the midst of pain. No matter what happens, you cannot give up. You may cry, doubt, and feel unworthy, but something inside you refuses to back down. As Paul said in 2 Corinthians 4:8, we are hard-pressed on every side, yet not crushed. Anointing does not remove pain from your life. It gives your pain a purpose. But pay very close attention here, my brothers, because this is vital. Everything we've talked about is very real, but there is a very thin line we must be careful with. We cannot spiritualize absolutely everything. Not every closed door is the enemy attacking. Sometimes it's our own poor decisions or lack of preparation. Not every season of isolation is the anointing. Sometimes it means we need to work on our character. And if you are dealing with constant anxiety or severe mental exhaustion, don't ignore that many times these are psychological, emotional, or physical stress issues that haven't been addressed. Following Jesus is not a curse, nor does it mean your life will be a constant tragedy full of attacks. On the contrary, being in him means that even in the middle of the fire and our own human mistakes, he gives us peace, mental clarity, and the strength to move forward. He did not call you to destroy you with heavy burdens. He called you to give you abundant life and peace in the midst of any storm. If you are willing to endure this process with maturity, taking responsibility and trusting in his grace, write this in the comments. Lord, sustain my anointing and give me your peace.